Hey, what's going on, guys? Crass Businessman here. Today's Wednesday, so therefore we're going to discuss current event fuckery. Today's quote of the day is that it's better to be an outspoken atheist than a hypocrite. And that was said by George Harrison. So after being sent, a countless blend of both hilarious and equally angering memes, it got me thinking. Now, see, I'm subscribed to like 2 or 3 different YouTube content creators that primarily discuss atheism. But what I found is that the vast majority of my atheist brethren are ultra-liberal. And that gets me thinking that I want to talk about the hypocrisy of the liberal atheist. Now, it doesn't make you automatically a hypocrite to be a liberal. I'm not making that claim whatsoever, and I'm not saying it's every single person. But one claim I will make, though, is that there is good reasons and bad reasons to be an atheist. If you've gone down the rabbit hole, started plucking at threads to find that pretty much, most of the claims are bogus and they're lacking in substantial or demonstrable evidence, I'd say that's a good reason to be an atheist. If you're an atheist because of some sort of personal vendetta against, imaginary deities, or you want to claim to be an atheist just to participate in douchebaggery or condescension, that wouldn't be a good reason to be an atheist. Now, one common trait among atheists is critical thinking skills. And it's troubling to me how someone who is a critical thinker and a skeptic in one aspect of their beliefs completely disregards all of that in another. Rightfully so, they're unconvinced by pseudoscientific claims, emotional decisions versus rational, reasonable, and logical ones. And when it comes to politics or social issues, it seems as though it all gets thrown out the window. The demand for evidence when it comes to claims just doesn't matter anymore. And quite frankly, I wanted to call attention to it and show the, to me, obvious hypocrisy. It also appears as though, as a society, we've gotten to the point where we search for problems that don't really demonstrably exist, but we confirm that they do anyway by making several logical fallacies. There's this idea that there's so much oppression, affecting everybody, except for white people, of course, with no substantial evidence for this claim. And now I'm making a vague statement here. These claims get made. Nobody cares. Evidence is no longer needed, just so long as the assertion fits what they feel is comfortable. Now, this isn't everyone, nor is it every single issue, but it's a noticeable enough one to say something about it. So let's take a look at one particular issue, the gender wage gap. When looking at it in context, it's actually a complete fabrication. Statistics are cherry-picked in order to support the narrative that women are being unfairly underpaid for doing the same work. Cherry-picking, like when theists do it with the Bible, is supposed to be something that we don't support because it creates a false representation of what's actually happening. What people don't seem to understand is that precarious jobs, as in jobs that have incredibly high risk and mortality rates, pay fairly well. Men seem to flock to these positions, and for whatever reason, women aren't exactly knocking down the doors to become oil riggers, loggers, or coal miners. And for example, oil riggers on average make around $100,000 a year. But only, less than 1% of oil riggers are female. Also less than 1% are in the logging field. And in the coal mining field, only 2%. Conversely, 99% of preschool teachers are women, where the average salary is around $29,000. Now, I know. The main part of the claim is that in an apples-to-apples comparison, blah, 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 70 cents on the dollar, which has been thoroughly debunked over and over again. But that's not even what I want to point out. I want to point out what I mentioned in a previous video. You get paid whatever you accept. See, since we don't live in a totalitarian society, you voluntarily work for companies. Nobody forces you. So if the pay is too low for a job that you're applying for, maybe don't accept the amount. Ask for more? Get skills? I don't know. As a business owner, I'm always looking to get the job done using the least amount of resources that I have to. If it turns out that nobody's willing to work for a wage that I offer, I increase the wage. Stop accepting these wages. Furthermore, if someone is worth it, I'll gladly pay them more. Increasing your skills, asking for the wage you want, these are going to fall on the individual looking for the job. So once again, reiterated, the point being, you get paid whatever you accept. Now, before I bring up my next point, I'm hoping that you'll hear me out before you start autistically screeching and I want you to objectively evaluate the claim. You can hate my face, you can hate the tact or the lack thereof, in which I use to describe it. See, there are differences between men and women, distinct differences. This is a fact. One notable difference is that men tend to be physically stronger than women. This claim is backed by numerous reputable studies over a long span of time. One study in particular found that on average, women had 26 pounds less skeletal muscle than men. Another point that demonstrates this fact well is that when comparing world records of physicality between men and women, the women's records are nowhere close to the man's records. The strongest woman in the world, who currently holds the largest bench press, can do 470 pounds, whereas the strongest man in the world does 1,075. This isn't even arguable. This is comparing numbers to numbers. So what does this mean? Well, it doesn't really matter what you want it to mean. What it means is that men are physically stronger than women, on average. But this is not an absolute, nor has it ever been claimed to be so. On the individual level, there have obviously been some women that are stronger than some men. Yes, no one's disagreeing with that. But they're at a physiological disadvantage, which isn't a matter of opinion. These are observable facts. So when atheists discuss things such as evolution, changes in allele frequencies over time being an observable fact, why is this not required for social issues? We don't believe evolution for the fuck of it. There's evidence. And we get frustrated when Christians give emotional responses to logical points that we make, but we don't seem to have the self-awareness to notice when we're doing exactly the same fucking thing. To say that women on average are physiologically weaker than men, particularly in the upper body, is not a misogynistic claim. It's an observable scientific fact, and it's not even intended to be an insult. But the issue gets brought up every time there comes a question of a physical challenge where someone asks whether a woman can do it or not. But this is a valid question. The fact that someone gets offended when this is brought up doesn't change the fact that it's a fact. If someone made fun of me for having a less than stellar vertical leap, and even presented it in a way such as, hey, you know, that 15-year-old can jump way higher than you, you should go kill yourself, or whatever they say, should I really be upset? I mean, if it's a fact, what do I really have to complain about? Sky's blue, water's wet, who cares? Should we coddle everyone's subjective sense of being offended? Or should the responsibility fall upon the individual to find better coping mechanisms to deal with the world? I would vote on the latter. So, to sum up, and bring this video to a close, I'd like to pose a question. You can even disregard everything that I said before. It doesn't even matter at this point. Ask yourself this. Are you objectively, logically, and rationally evaluating your social and political positions? Or are you doing the same shit that you hate that theists do with the Bible? Ask the man in the mirror because he's the only one that can answer it. That's it for this video, guys. I'm sure the ones who sharpen their pitchforks and lit their torches are doing their research to try to find out where I live. So I'm going to go ahead and skedaddle. I'm going to try to eat some food. Once again, I'm Crass Businessman. Please like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you want. I don't give a fuck. And until next time, stay productive.